It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one, that's right, number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission is to empower. Our mission is really to inspire. And our mission is to provide you, the entrepreneur, with all of those resources that are necessary to execute that huge vision you have that's deep down inside of you. And today we have the one and only Dr. Kim Warren Martin, who's in the building, not for the first time, not for the second time, but she's been probably the most repeat guest we've ever had on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. But I'm so excited to have her here, coming into us from Arkansas. What's going on, Dr. Kim Warren Martin?
Hi, Shay. How are you? It's a beautiful day, as you like to say. It's a great day. So I'm having a wonderful time.
Good. Thanks so much for being here. Now, you have this idea, which is Reignite Her Light. And I just want to ask the burning question right off the back, if I can, which is, why do women, because it says reignite her, maybe she'll have a reignite him light one day, but reignite her light, why do women struggle with reigniting their light? What's the challenge that's facing them today that caused you to have this particular type of movement right now?
Well, that is a great question, Shay. And the reality of it is, like you said, we should probably have a reignite his light because it's not just a her light problem. It's a people challenge. And the challenge is living life literally the way we want to live versus the way we're expected to live. And in fact, research shows the number one regret people have on their deathbed is that they lived according to expectations of others, whether it was family or society, friends, maybe fraternity and sorority expectations, faith expectations, whatever it was. People tend to that tends to be the number one regret on their deathbed, that they lived according to expectations versus the life they really want to live and being authentic and true to who and what they wanted to do and be and have. And so I had a very illustrious career in the tech industry. And near the end of that career, I was invited to run the women's initiative for a Fortune 50 company and did it in the US and ultimately took it global. And one of the things that I learned is it doesn't matter which country you're in, what society you grow up under, people want more. People were created actually to self-actualize. And there are things that we were created and were called to do. And I know in some cases that might sound all woo-woo and whatnot, and people make choices and decisions as they're going through life that cause misalignment with what they really desire in their hearts and their souls and their minds and in their spirits. And so we can go about being successful, but we can live our entire life being unfulfilled. So reignite her light is literally about reigniting that fire that burned within. I'll give you this analogy. I love candles, and I love candles that are taller ones that burn straight down the middle. And the reason I love that particular type of candle is because the wax doesn't always, burn completely. So when it burns just like that, you literally, as the candle is burning and the wick is going down in, the wax is melting away in the center. You can cut away pieces, and you still have all of this leftover wax, and you can literally use that to create new candles and light new and different spaces. And so Reignite Her Light is a program much like that. You may have spent an entire career doing something that you love, that you like doing, that you were successful, but most of us still have the question, is there more? Is this all there is? And those candles to me are a great representation of the fact that yes, there's more, and no, this is not all there is, because I believe the very fact that you ask that question means that there is more.
What do you say to the person that says, this is a little bit outside my comfort zone? I'm a busy person. I've got a lot going on. I have a lot of responsibilities. A number of folks might be like myself, a primary caregiver. Other folks may be taking care of little ones. They have real responsibilities. They're like, wait a minute, Kim, you don't understand. I've got so much going on. You want me to slow down in order to try to do something that's outside of my comfort zone, it's going to take additional energy. So my question to you is, what do you share with your clients to help them expand their comfort zone, number one, and number two, be able to manage all the priorities that are in place other than just themselves, because they don't want to feel selfish. I'll say that.
So another great question. You are just rolling with the great questions today. So the first thing is yes, it's certainly not a selfish activity. And I think Jim Rohn has a quote that says, "I'll take care of me for you if you take care of you for me." So when I first heard that, I thought, wow, that's profound. Because if I take care of me, then I am in a space where I can give you my best. And that's you, it may be a husband, it may be children, maybe the career. But if I take care of me, if I'm at my best, then I can give my best. And so it's not a selfish thing. As a matter of fact, I think it's one of the most loving things that you can do for those around you, and that is to take care of yourself so you can give them the best, and vice versa. Now, when it comes to time, this is not a matter of extra time, right? We sometimes, I used to say, if I only had 30 hours a day, well, if I had 30 hours a day, probably the same thing had happened with the 24 that I have been given, that we've all been given. So it's not about additional time. In fact, in Reignite Her Light, we work to help our clients get to a space of fulfillment and self actualization without requiring additional hours, without sacrificing personal time, or without having to jeopardize relationships. And there is a very quick way we get to that, and that is by discovering what really matters most to the person and shaving off the things that may have been good at a time, may have even been great. But just because you've always done it doesn't mean you need to keep doing it. And there's so many things that we do in our lives that we're on autopilot just doing that we really don't even like doing or don't even want doing anymore. And sometimes it's challenging to release those things because we may have to say no to someone, or we may have to let some activity go that expectations are that we are there. But the bottom line is, if you want to maximize your life, if you want to reach, really self actualize, reach your full potential, which, by the way, I don't believe you can truly reach your peak potential unless you are doing those things that you are truly in alignment with. Yeah, you can get to the top, you can be really great, you can be an Olympic athlete, whatnot. But I don't think if you can fully reach your potential without being in alignment. So we don't need extra time. We are not pulling you away from your family. We will have to take some time to do some understanding of where you are and shifting of maybe some things and responsibilities. And we create the space for you to reignite your life.
I'm sitting here thinking, whoa, I want to jump into this whole reignite her movement myself. She might have a reignite his movement. Don't worry. I'm not lobbying. I'm just saying. But if I'm ready to become a leader of one, that's myself. Before I become a leader of many, I'll say that. What's the first step? Now, you get a paper and pencil out. I'm going to ask her, hey, what's 3 steps that you can do right now? I'm going to suggest you connect with Dr. Kim Warren Martin. I'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're like, I'm ready now, like I'm all in, she's speaking to me, what are the 3 things she recommend that I do? Not knowing your circumstances, because, I know everyone's at different places, different spaces. So it's kind of an unfair question, but Dr. Kim Warren Martin can handle it. So 3 things, Kim, that they can do right now to start on that path and then continue on the path.
So I believe that at a foundational level, there are a few things that you can do. And the number one thing is to get clear on who you are. Who are you really? Without the labels, it's not about your job title, it's not about the roles that you serve in. And one of the first things we do in the program is dig down deep to get clarity on who you are. The second thing is, what do you want? Not the things you've been told to want, not the things you've been conditioned to want, not because the American dream says I should do this, or I'm a mom, so I should do that, or I'm a wife, I should do this, that, so on and so forth. But what is it that you really want? And, it might feel selfish, but again, it's selfless, because when you're at your best, you can give your best. So who are you is number one. What do you want is number two. And number three is why. Why do you want it? Like, what is the impetus behind it? What is the driving force for why you want it? And then that brings up a whole lot of other questions. So, at a foundational level, we work to get clear on who you are, what you want, why you want. And these are some questions you can ask yourself. And we have a process of taking people through answering those questions to really go deep and not just at the surface level and really get beyond the things on you want a car or this or that, but it's really on a much deeper level than that because cars and things they can come later. When you know who you are, what you want, why you want, you may not even want at the end of this, you may not even want the same car you thought you wanted because you just wanted that one because, all these extraneous reasons. And I'll give you a bonus, Shay.
Well,
After
thank
you
you.
do all
We love bonuses, but we love freebies. We love bonuses. We love everything that's going to help us do more, be more, have more, give more. Come on, bring it on, bring it on. I want a better life, by the way, and I want to reignite the Shay Brown. So holla at your boy. I'm listening.
the bonus is in doing all of this, one of the other things that we do is so critical and so crucial is to mind your mind. And what I call mind and mind, the first mind is an acronym standing for monitor your thoughts, being intentional about what comes in, nurturing the good thoughts, and destoring or destroying those thoughts that are not going to move you forward. And you would be so surprised the number of thoughts we think a day and the percentage of thoughts that are the same and the percentage of thoughts that are negative. It's absolutely mind blowing. So, one of the things that we really need to do as we're going through this foundational process is to be able to get in our own minds and find out which thoughts are really ours so you can be true and authentic when you answer who are you? What do you want? Why do you want it? And from there, you can create this declarative statement that can help you to start to, sort of get in a relationship with where you're going and something that you can say throughout the day that will really help you to start to move the needle forward in those areas.
There's some folks that are
So I guess
looking
that was
over
what
your shoulder, like I am right now, by the way, and they're saying, "Whoa, Kim got it all together. Dr. Kim Warren Martin got it all together." Looking at over your shoulder, like, look at that. She got a hubby back there, got a nice hubby picture, by the way. She's in a calm, serene area. This woman has it all together. So what does she have to reignite, by the way? What does she know? Because not what do you know, because you know a whole lot, but some folks that are listening right now, they're like myself. They've been through a divorce. There's some folks that listening like myself. I'm not having a self-confession here, but they've had some financial hardships, even hit bankruptcy. Some folks have made some decisions and counted on people, Dr. Kim Warren Martin, and they let them down, right? And so whether it's a bad decision or someone letting them down and they've tried to do this before and it didn't work out, my question to you is, where was a time in your life where there was a challenge, there was a setback, and you had to apply some of these principles in your own life that allowed you to reignite your life? And as she's mentioned this, you all listen in, by the way, because this is a lesson or lessons you can learn on your journey. Now, Kim, if everything's been fine, just say, Shay, my life is fine. Can't you see that picture on my shoulder? Can't you see that picture on my shoulder?
So, Shay, nearly everything that you mentioned, I have experienced in my life, right? There have been people that have let me down. I've had financial challenges. I've had broken relationships. I haven't experienced divorce. This is my first, and by God and by me and my husband's declaration, it's going to be the only marriage I have. So, but so I have experienced a lot of, I guess I don't know, and we could even say in some cases trauma and traumatic. I've had traumatic experiences, which is another topic for another day. But so I have I think the story I'll tell is just in my career. And I mentioned that I had a really great career. I did. It was such a blessing. And I excelled in my career. I, traveled the world. I've just done some phenomenal things that were even greater than I thought that I would do, when I was growing up as a little girl in Arkansas, in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I had this career. It was in the tech industry. I'm a software engineer by education. I have some other education post that, but I worked in the tech industry for about 20 years, 20 plus, a little over 20 years. And most of that time was literally about making my family proud. And like I said, it was a great career, did some wonderful things, made a lot of money, but it was not where I wanted to be. So one of the things I wound up doing is moving around a lot in my career. In fact, I was interviewing for a position at one company, and this was in the telecom industry. And one of the people that interviewed me, who was going to be a coworker of mine, made a comment to the manager, which is something he told me, after I got hired, that, well, look at her resume. She's been all these places. How do we know she's going to stay here? And at that time, I literally never stayed anywhere, probably more than 3 or 4 years. But, we had some conversations. I got the job anyway. And once I mastered what I thought was the job, I was ready to move around, not leave the company, but do a different role. And that became challenging. So I did actually ultimately wind up leaving the company. And it wasn't an I told you so from my colleague, because that colleague actually literally became a friend, and we're friends to this day. We travel the world together on vacations, Africa, Europe, South America, you name it. And she's still a good friend today. But the bottom line is, I came to a place where I was working with a woman to help her accelerate in her career. And she told me, I don't want to be at the top. I'm good where I am. I like the work I do. I have a family, and I have a child, and I'm the oldest. My husband's the oldest. We're responsible for taking care of our parents. So this woman had one child. And by the way, this is a Chinese woman in China. She had one child and was responsible for two sets of parents post that, and a husband. And her thing was, I just can't do anymore. And for me, I was like, what do you mean you don't want to get to the top? But then once she literally explained it, and in my role, Kim, the women's and global women's initiative manager, is thinking, who doesn't want to get to the top? But at that moment, her no literally shined a light on the fact that I had been in this career for over 20 years doing something that I never planned to do, and everything was great. I worked with brilliant people. There was nothing wrong, except for what I knew was I needed to make a change. And Kevin Costner has a quote that says, when the defining moment comes, either you define the moment or the moment defines you. At that point, I knew I could not let the moment continue to define me. So I did what we do in Reignite Her Light. It was birthed out of my journey. I got clear on who I was, what I wanted, and why. And so that's how I got to where I am today, working with, amazing women, executive women in large part, helping them to do the same thing, because I wanted to make an impact in the world, and make a mark in the world. And reignite her light, and being successful and fulfilled, and reaching your full potential literally is about making an impact and affecting change, and doing it from a space of being where you want to be versus where you're expected to be. I know that was a long way around it, but
No, it was
Well,
very
for me,
heartfelt.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm
it's
conscious
you
of the
being
fact.
authentic,
Yeah, yeah. So I, it, it,
and
it
we
was a long
appreciate the
journey,
honesty.
and there were a lot of hard times.
Mhm.
Just work, emotional, in tears, and trying. How am I? Like, why am I here? What's? But there was nothing wrong. There was nothing
Mhm.
wrong, with my career, except for I stayed way too long. I think I was in a space where I stayed way too long, and we often do that. I had good management, I made great money, I had great opportunities, but I
Mhm.
just knew there was something different and more that I should do. And I'm not asking people to uproot their lives the way I did. It's not about
Mhm.
leaving the job. It really is about making your mark. So,
And how can folks, as you're sharing and being transparent, for folks that are listening right now, Dr. Kim Warren Martin, and they're thinking to themselves, I would like to connect. I want you to answer two questions if you can. Number one, what type of clients is your organization taking on these days? So, hopefully you're taking on some clients. And number two, more importantly, how can folks best connect as they're listening? They're like, man, I think this is something I need or someone needs. How can they best connect with you?
so, the best way to connect with me is you can literally send me an email, Kim at Reignite Her Light, or you can go to meet with Kim W. Martin. You can do that. I'm on Instagram, Kim W. Martin, Facebook, Kim W. Martin. So all of the platforms. But the best way is either email, or go ahead and put time on my calendar, and we can have a brief conversation. Just, brief. It isn't about it literally is for me listening and sharing and answering whatever questions anyone might have about the program, about me, about the work I do. And my clients tend to be executive or heading into the executive ranks, and they're at a space questioning whether this is something that they should do or not for various reasons. So those are the people that I typically work with.
So I'm gonna suggest you all connect with the one and only Dr. Kim Warren Martin. Just go to at Dr. Kim Warren Martin if you want to connect with her on Instagram or any of the platforms. Do it now, do it now, do it now. What does Dr. Kim Warren Martin do for fun when she's not out saving the world? Out there watching candles burn all the way to the ground and then trying to save humanity by putting it back together again. What does Dr. Kim Warren Martin do for fun?
So I actually I think my work is fun. It's extremely exhilarating for me to help people to get in those spaces and turn lights on in their heads and hearts. But I'm an outdoors person, so I'm a very adventurous type person. So I love adventure travel. So I love that. I am a very artsy person. I love theater. I love dance. I love music. I write, so I love writing. Mm, I don't know. I love acting and all those things, and so I just like to have fun. I like to sit around and laugh. I think, like the Bible says, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Laughter is such an amazing thing. So there's so much I like to do. I don't know. I love water. I love just being, in the greenery of trees. And when I grew up in Arkansas, I loved trees. I had no idea how I loved them until I moved away and went to college in Dallas, where they habitually cut down all the trees, and it was like this concrete jungle from there. And then, so now I'm back in Arkansas with these amazing trees, and every time I'm driving home, I'm just looking at these amazing trees and just how beautiful they are. So I love doing a lot. I like reading. I read a lot, so I study a lot because I'm very inquisitive, and I am learning a new language. I love learning languages, and I will say I love history, and I particularly with a particular interest in the history of indigenous people on the different lands around the continent. And often,
What language are you learning? You can't just leave us hanging and say, I'm
oh,
learning a new language. And we're all listening
I
like, well, what's the
am
freaking language,
learning.
Shay? Well, I don't know.
So hablo español, pero necesito practicar mucho, pero en estos días no hay nadie que hablar conmigo. And so Spanish, I need to make my Spanish, pick it back up and get it better.
Mm-hmm.
But I am learning Mandarin. So my
Wow.
husband is in the process of learning Spanish. I'm learning Mandarin. And I did study some French in high school, so I like French. So I like languages. For me, if I can understand the structure of how they speak, it tends to make it easier for me to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I have learned languages, and there was something else I was going to say. I don't remember what it was, but yeah. So I like to do a lot of stuff. I'm still an engineer, so I'm building a website for a nonprofit organization. So even though that wasn't really my type of engineering, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. So I'm just there are a lot of different, I don't know, facets to me, and that's why it's so important to understand who you are, what you want, and why you want it, so that you
Yeah.
too can be able to really explore and breathe life and send light into all the parts of who you are. So
And the reason I wanted y'all to hear that is Dr. Kim Warren Martin is someone this is a fun conversation for me. She's someone I met, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. It might be 10 years now. I can't remember. Many
yeah,
years ago. And she's remained
yeah.
the same. And so if you're looking for someone out there to have a conversation with that I would call a friend, right? She's not the coach's coach. She's not the consultant consultant, by the way. She's not the minister's minister. She's someone that you could consider, I would say, a friend, a trusted advisor, someone that's going to be upfront with you and kind of share the way it is. And she'll share her view of the world. So how you see Dr. Kim Warren Martin now is how she is if you were sitting in her living room. And I say that to some guests, Dr. Kim Warren Martin, I get a chance to meet, and I'm meeting her for the very first time, right? We connected on
Mhm.
social media. It's a good fit for our audience. They got great content and so forth, but I don't have a deep personal relationship. And in this case, I have. So I've had a chance to sit down, break bread with you and hang out with you and meet your husband, I think on 2 or 3 occasions. So it's pretty cool. And I'm really, really
Yeah.
glad to have you here.
He's a
There's
cool
a
guy.
concept. Thanks. There's a concept that you talk about, and it's another piece, right? You got Reignite Her, and that's something that you deliver. But there's this whole methodology, a whole thought process about successful and fulfilled. And when I first heard it, I was like, well, that's kind of oxymoron, right? I mean, you're going to be successful. And what's the difference between being successful and what's the difference between being fulfilled? And I was like, well, if I become successful, don't worry about me because I'll be fulfilled, right? I mean, we'll figure out the fulfillment part later. In the time we have, and again, it's so unfair. I wish we have to have you back on another show, but break down what's the difference between successful versus being fulfilled, and why is there that piece that goes back and forth amongst individuals? Because this is one of your foundations. It's one of the reasons your organization exists, so folks
Yeah.
can be successful and they can be fulfilled.
Yes. So the difference between you can have them both. Now, here's what's interesting is that for many years we've been told that we couldn't have it all. We couldn't have, we could be successful but not be fulfilled. We could be successful and maybe find fulfillment later. We could have it but not all at the same time. And so for me, that wasn't good enough because I just felt like, God created me for both. And I just didn't think that I had to live in a space where I could have a great career, which, by the way, it depends on your definition of success. But success, typically, when people hear successful, they're thinking maybe in business or career or something somewhere in there. They don't typically equate it to fulfillment. And the part of that I love and that I learned throughout my life is that you can have them both. Success does not guarantee fulfillment. This is why a lot of times you see people have what's been called a midlife crisis, right? And for me, I don't believe it's a crisis. I think it's a correction. This is a point in life where you might see a doctor decide, hey, you know what? I think I want to be a teacher. Or you might see a teacher decide, hey, I really wanted to be, I don't know, an engineer, or I wanted to be a lawyer. So go back to law school. And it used to be equated with gentlemen for the most part, getting a hot red Corvette or a Harley, or maybe going for a younger spouse, whatever. And so it's kind of morphed over time. But I think it's a correction. I think it's that coming back to who we are, what we really wanted, why we wanted it. And now we've gone on this path, we've built a career, and we've done well. But once we got to the top, there's that question, well, is this it? It's got to be more than just this. And particularly if that happens to you younger in life, then you're thinking, wow, I'm 35, I'm 40, I'm 55, and I've got all these years to go. And is this as good as it gets? But the truth is, you don't have to sacrifice your success for fulfillment, nor do you have to sacrifice your fulfillment for success. You could have it all. You just have to be the one who defines what it all means to you. We have to move away from these societal, familial, all these norms that we shoot for and strive for. And when we get there, we realize we're out of alignment. So you can have it all as long as you're the one who defines what it all means to you.
Thanks for sharing. I love that. Successful and fulfilled. We're going to have her back and have to unpack that piece. We have a segment here, Dr. Kim Warren Martin, called Today is My January 1st. And I know for some of you out there, you've been waiting to say that. You can go and say those words right now. Today is my January 1st. So welcome back, family, many of you out there. And then there's some of you out there right now, you're watching for the very first time. Welcome. We're glad to have you aboard. Today is my January 1st is our personal mantra at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. And it represents that every day you wake up, it's a fresh start. Today is my January 1st, represents a do-over. It means your past no longer equals your future. And then you don't have to wait till December 31st at 11:59 p.m. on the back of some napkin to decide today is my January 1st. It's in the present moment. You can make that decision. That one decision can change your life. So my question to Dr. Kim Warren Martin is, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? And what are your words to inspire or to encourage folks that now have to go implement a lot of what you've talked about, and they've got to go face life now?
Mhm. So when I hear today is my January 1st, it's exactly what you said. It's like you have a do over, because if you think about what happens chronologically, at when we get to January 1st, it's saying goodbye to the old year and we're welcoming in a new year. People may have made resolutions or a list of things they plan to accomplish and they want to do. And those resolutions tend to center around, making more money, getting in shape, maybe finding a new job, different things like that. So, again, that's evidence of the fact that we have people who are probably successful, but a lot of people are unfulfilled and moving around and doing all these, and those are the top resolutions. And when I think of today is my January 1st, aside from all that, it's a new start, it's a fresh start. I'm excited. I'm breathing new air. We're going to move from winter into spring, into summer. So all those things happen when it's January 1st. But what I think about is saying today is my January 1st is a powerful statement, a powerful place to be. And it is breaking conditioning, right? It is breaking the fact that, well, I'll start over again next year. We're it's just breaking all of that conditioning and the way that we have been taught that things should move. And it's giving you an opportunity to take your power and start fresh when you need to start fresh, how you need to start fresh. So I like that about it. The other thing I like about today being my January 1st is that it's a new energy and there's a new infusing in you. And I don't know, I'm sure you've read The 12-Week Year, right,
It's
Shay?
my favorite
So,
book. It's one of my top 10 books of all time. I put it in my top 10 books, and I'm not going to go with books, but it's my top 10 books
yeah,
of all time. That's how
yeah,
powerful the book she just mentioned. I mean, think about your top 10 books. I mean to interrupt you, Kim, but think of your top 10 books. And is this book in the top 10? If it
it
isn't,
should,
go read the book. And
right.
my belief is it'll be in your top 10 books of all time. Anyway, okay, Kim, Dr. Warren, go on. Sorry.
So the thing about the 12-week year, which is phenomenal, and it's another one of those of like thought shifting or habit shifting or breaking conditioning types of books, because it deals with considering each, 12 weeks a year, as the title said, 12-week year. And if you operate in a 12-week year, each week is like a month. So it is like drive towards your goals, get those things done. But in that, if you operate in that way, you get 4 January 1st in the year. So you have 4 new starts in the year and moving to new projects and doing new things. And you can accomplish so much more than just sort of hanging out and just letting the year stretch all the way to December and then trying to find new life in January. And I'm going to wait till January. I'm going to wait till January and, kicking things off. You can literally kick things off. In fact, you know, the next, just think about this. Wherever we are in the month, the next first of the month, think about it. That can be a new January 1st, a new year for you. So you get to start over whenever. And I like the power of it. I love the power of the 12-week year. I love the power of the statement. So I never heard that until you started saying it. And so I actually have said that to a lot of people. So I don't own it. I still give you credit for it, but I've said it to a lot of people.
It was one of the things. The backstory was a topic for another time, but it's one of those things that I developed as a kid, going through a number of things at home, and like a number of folks. My house wasn't perfect either, by the way. A lot of crazy things going on, and so yeah, it's something that I've held near and dear to me, and I shared it one time, and folks seem to resonate. So if it helps folks, we're all here to do two things, and then I'm gonna have Dr. Kim Warren tell you how to connect with her. But it's certainly one of my own missions in life. And my own mission in life has been boiled down to two words. Can you imagine my whole life's boiled down to two words that I have? And that is impact humanity. And if that phrase can help folks dig down so they can have more impact, and then we'll say it as often as we have to make a difference in the world. All right, Dr. Kim Warren Martin, we're done. We're coming down the home stretch. Tell folks how they can connect with you one more time, please.
Sure. Again, Kim at Reignite Her Light, or Instagram, Kim W. Martin, Facebook, Kim W. Martin. I'm on YouTube, although I'm building YouTube, but I'm out there, so you can find me on YouTube. So I'm on all the platforms. I haven't found a relationship with Snapchat yet. I'm not sure I even need to, but I am on most other platforms. LinkedIn, I'm Kim Warren Martin, so you can find me there as well. So, and you can put time on my calendar and meet with Kim W. Martin.
First, let me say thanks so much, Dr. Kim Warren Martin, for being here on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We appreciate you. Can't wait to have you back. You were the initiator. You were the one that, when this was just an idea about 7 years ago, you said, well, yeah, I'll jump aboard. We didn't even know what was going to happen. Here we are 7 years later. Not about the time. It's about what we've been able to do during that time that we're here. So thanks so much. For you that's watching right now, thank you for watching the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We appreciate you. Thanks for sharing it. Thanks for finding us on YouTube. You can go to at I am Shay Brown on YouTube, and you'll see the show there under the podcast. I want you to know that you're amazing because you're here. I want you to know you're incredible because today is your January 1st. And I want you to know that I believe with every fiber in my heart that your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is still yet to come. So with that being said, my name, by the way, is still the one and only still Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. Remember, time is very long. Life, on the other hand, is very, very short. So we got to live in that moment and we got to make it count. God bless and we wish you success. Thanks a lot, Kim. We out. Peace, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.